Hey guys, I'm Stephanie,
And I'm Tiffany,
and we are
Sisters
Sisters
of
of
the
the
South.
South. We are coming to you today with another true crime story. But before we get started, we'd like to ask that you hit that like button if you like our video. Also, subscribe and hit that notification bell so every time Sisters of the South uploads a true crime video, you can come join us. So, with that being said, we also want to recognize one of our favorite vendor and our friends, SoFly.
So fly,
SoFly,
not so small.
not no mo.
Yeah.
SoFly is a family owned business here in the Houston, Texas area, and they specialize in embroidery and lasering. So, what they will do is take an accessory such as a purse, a t shirt, a hoodie, a cap, a tumbler, even a carving board, and they will specialize it to your needs. They do our merchandise. They make us extremely happy. We'd love for you to try them out, but let us show you a video of just how badass they are. So, here we go.
Okay, guys, we hope you enjoyed that video. Go check them out. Let them know we sent you. And if you buy something, let us know. We want to see a picture. We love new ideas.
Absolutely. And we will enter their information in the description box down below. So go check them out. And before I turn it over to Tiff, I just want to say this week has been a phenomenal week in our true crime community. Absolutely phenomenal. By the time you get to see this video, will be a week ahead. But this week, actually, as we're recording, there has been 2 plea deals. And first of all, I want to say neither one of us agree on plea deals. Am I
It's a
right?
cop out.
Yeah. But if it brings some sort of peace to the families and closure, if you want to call it that, then albeit I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, that's what it's about is the families who have lost loved ones. But I do want to say that the Brian Koberger case, I'm glad it's finally coming to an end and we don't have to see his face anymore. But I also wanted to say absolutely kudos to Olivia Goncalves. Your speech was amazing. It brought me to tears. It gave me chills. And you spoke on behalf of each of your loved ones tremendously. It was beautiful. So thank you for doing that. It actually set the stage for future people who have to do that. And so I think that you bridge the gap for people that have to do that in the future. So I'm so proud of you. But we also want to remember Maddie Mogan. We want to remember Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chafin. And we also want to bring prayers to all of their families. May peace be with you. And hopefully you can move forward and do whatever it is that God calls you to do at this point in time. Also, this week, Maddie Soto got some justice finally with Stephen Stearns, and he took a plea deal as well down in Florida. And you know what? I wish both of them would have gotten the chair, but unfortunately, they're just going to have to rot in prison. But finally, Maddie had some sort of recognition in our judicial system. So we just wanted to lift their family in prayer as well, and bring them good vibes. So with that being said, we'll move forward with our story, but we couldn't let this go by without bringing recognition. And I know Tiff feels the same way, but did you have
Yes.
anything you wanted to say?
No, I think you covered it all.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. We pretty much share the same energy on these cases. They're absolutely sad. But we also like to see the victims become victors in their strength during that time. So this was a big week, guys. So we're going to move forward with bringing these stories to you. And please share if you get a chance. This is not about you know, bringing accolades to the people who caused the damage, but we also just want to bring a face to the names of the victims that these horrible crimes have happened to. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Tiff now to tell her story.
All right, guys. Renee Freer was born September 8th, 1968, to Felicia and John Freer. In 1975, when she was just 6 years old, Renee's parents separated. Renee and her brother Nathan, who was 2 years old at the time, went to live with their mom. Their dad lived about 20 miles away from them in Bethel, Connecticut. Renee, her mom, and her brother lived with her maternal grandparents who rented a home in Monroe, Connecticut, the town where her mom had grown up. Monroe is a smaller community in the rolling hills of Connecticut, 12 miles north of Bridgeport. The town is known for its beautiful parks, safe neighborhoods, and good school system. At the time, it was home to around 12,000 residents. Renee's family's little two-road community included about 30 homes.
Oh, wow. 30 homes on 2 roads?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're together.
Yeah, they are. Close knit.
The house was a recently built 3-bedroom home that sat on just over an acre of land on a quiet street, which sounds beautiful.
It does.
A densely wooded area bordered the home and the neighborhood. Neighborhood kids would often play in the woods just outside their doorsteps. And I just love that. I know we
Yes.
played in the woods a little bit.
Yep.
I don't have that quietness anymore, and I miss that, and I love it.
It's cool.
Renee was described by neighbors as a cute little doll that was apt to talk to anyone. Tawny, a friend and classmate, said she had the most infectious laugh. Laura, another friend and classmate, said Renee was a friend when I really needed one. The bus picked her up after me. I was shy and awkward and sat alone on the bus. Everyone had their friends and were buddied up. I would carry a book with me to pretend it didn't matter, but she saw through that. She made it a point to sit by me and talk to me and make me laugh, and I loved her for that, which I think tells a lot about Renee, even as a small child.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
June 22nd, 1977 was the next to the last day of school. Neighbors recalled seeing 8-year-old Renee playing around the neighborhood with other kids that afternoon after school. Renee had also delivered homegrown strawberries to an elderly couple down the street.
How sweet.
I love this kid.
Oh my gosh. She's like a little angel.
Yes. Renee and her little brother Nathan ate dinner with their mother and grandparents before leaving the house again to play more outside. I mean, summer's coming. It's the next day.
Yeah, eating those
you need
warm
to hurry up and eat so we can go back
strawberries.
outside and play.
Yes.
Renee's mother, Felicia, was planning to bake cookies for a party at Renee's school the next day to celebrate the last day of school, and she needed to do some grocery shopping. At 7 o'clock p.m., Felicia stuck her head out of the door and called for Renee, but she didn't respond, which was odd. Felicia decided to go to the grocery store by herself. Felicia returned home, and by 8 p.m., she started to worry that Renee wasn't back. Sunset was at 8:29, and it was starting to get dark. With growing concerns, Felicia and neighbors began to look for Renee.
And you know her heart was pounding and just dropped.
Oh, yeah, that sunken feeling.
Yes.
I can't even.
Yes, it's a mother's intuition too. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to have my child next to me. Yeah.
Throughout the evening, there were neighborhood kids that were playing at the end of Renee's street, but none of those kids reported having seen Renee. By 9:15 p.m., with no sign of Renee, Felicia reported her missing to the Monroe Police Department. At the time, there was training being conducted at the station, and Chief Robert Wesh sent all 15 officers to the area to search for the missing girl, including off-duty officers and some newly sworn-in part-time officers, which I think is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Get everyone on board.
Yep.
Members of the Stepney Volunteer Fire Department joined in on the search, and the neighborhood and surrounding wooded areas were scoured by officers for any signs of Renee.
Wow.
At 10:12 p.m., Renee's body was found in a wooded area just a short walk from the safety of her home,
Oh my gosh.
about 300 feet from the road in the woods behind her house, perhaps only 100 feet from her back door.
Oh my gosh.
She was still dressed in the halter-style top and shorts she'd been wearing that night, but the collar of her top had been torn. Her clothing was otherwise undamaged, and other than a few scratches on her neck, there were no signs of a struggle. Renee was found lying on her back, and there were no footprints at the scene due to the number of leaves on the ground. A large rock covered in blood was found near Renee's body and was presumed to be the weapon. There were signs that she had been dragged to the location, and as the police studied the crime scene, they found blood in 2 areas of the woods. The area was described as a heavily wooded incline behind her house. Renee was known to sometimes use paths in the woods to visit nearby horse barns, but this location was not in that direction. Bonnie, her best friend and neighbor, said she wasn't the type to go in the woods by herself.
Okay.
Around 11 p.m., police notified Felicia that her daughter had been found. According to a neighbor, Felicia screamed and had to be held back from running to see her daughter's remains, which
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that tore me up.
Yeah.
Renee's body was identified by her grandfather before being transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center for autopsy the following day. Ordinarily, Renee would have had a forensic autopsy like any other murder victim in the state of Connecticut, but because there had been 3 murders in the state that day, Renee instead had a pathological autopsy, also known as a hospital autopsy.
Right.
It's unclear exactly what the differences were between a forensic and a pathological autopsy in 1977, but suffice it to say it has caused some concerns amongst the cops who have worked the case. It could be that the doctor who performed the autopsy was less trained in forensics than a typical medical examiner,
Right.
and therefore made fewer observations that would aid the investigation, which is what I would understand.
Yeah. Also, it makes me think forensics would be more or less they're picking hairs and dirt and things off her body, where just a regular autopsy, they're just looking to find the cause of
The
death.
cause of death, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. The cause of death was determined to be 2 crushing blows to the head. The autopsy report indicated that there was no evidence of assault. The same day, there was a specialist team from Long Island, New York, that attempted to obtain fingerprints from her body. Monroe PD had also been in contact with the FBI. They planned to send them evidence for further testing. The murder of a child was beyond the scope of what the department usually handled, and they could use all the help they could get. On Friday, June 24, 1977, investigators provided an update on the case, informing the public that many adults and young people had been questioned in Renee's death, and they had many more people to speak to. Chief Wesh said 4 teams of interrogators were returning to the neighborhood to ask additional questions that day. Police had been working around the clock, going home for only a few hours at a time to sleep. They encouraged anyone with information to call anytime, day or night, and assured that all calls would be strictly confidential. It was said that there are an ungodly amount of interviews that took place. They followed every single lead that they had, and there were leads that came from everywhere. They didn't disregard any of them, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
On Monday, June 27th, a Monroe Police Department officer began the 5.5-hour drive to Washington, D.C. at midnight. He drove through the night, 2 boxes of evidence loaded in his car. The evidence included blood, hair, fibers, and other items. They were hand-delivered to the FBI lab in Quantico later that morning. As Monroe PD awaited the lab results, they continued to search the wooded area behind Renee's home. On Wednesday, June 29th, preliminary results came back. Chief Wesh gave a vague update to the press saying, "The results have provided us with some information and some direction for further investigation." On Friday, July 9th, an FBI report concluded that there was evidence that Renee had struggled with her assailant. A substance had been discovered under her fingernails that would be helpful in prosecuting a suspect. The FBI examined some hair samples and provided some details about them in their report. Monroe PD said that they could be used for microscopic comparison if a suspect were identified.
Nice.
In September 1977, Dr. Henry Lee, chief criminologist of the state of Connecticut, took a careful look at Renee's autopsy report and notified that there was a semilunar mark just under Renee's breast. There was some suspicion that it could be a bite mark. Because of this hope, cops were able to get a court order to exhume Renee's body. It was determined that there may have been some injury to Renee's chest, but they were never able to definitively categorize it as a bite mark. Years passed without much movement in Renee's case. In 1986, a 9-year update was published in the Connecticut Post. Chief Robert Wesh, the same man who was chief at the time of Renee's murder, said that although the case was dormant, 5 or 6 times a year we get something and we chase it down. Police revealed that they'd interviewed more than 100 people, used hypnotists, conducted polygraph tests, and even met with psychics.
Wow.
They are everywhere looking for everything, which I think is
Yes.
so cool.
Absolutely.
The late paranormal investigator Lorraine Warren, who lived in Monroe, even became involved with the case for some time. She and her husband, Ed Warren, worked more than 10,000 paranormal cases during their career, perhaps most famously the hauntings that inspired the Amityville Horror and the Conjuring franchises. Just in case you don't know who they are.
Yes.
Lorraine thought that Renee's spirit could come back to her surroundings. So one night, Detective Stephen Biley, who also happened to be a neighbor of the Freers, slept over in Renee's old room. According to Eric Hansen's book, Dead End Road, when asked if Renee's spirit visited him, the detective said, there was a clock shaped like a black cat with a white stomach, which I can see that in my head.
I had one.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It was a kid's clock. It wasn't working. We had the whole night recorded. When we listened to the recording, the clock was ticking.
Weird. Oh my gosh.
The Connecticut Post interviewed Monroe PD about the case in June of 1992. Sergeant Norman Mercier, who had been in charge of the investigation for 15 years, said, the probe into the girl's death is basically over. He added, I've talked to the girl's parents and they just want to put the whole thing behind them and get on with their lives. Both of Renee's parents were no longer living in the area. Sergeant Mercier said that though they had a very good suspect in the case, the individual couldn't be touched due to a legal technicality. Though he didn't spell it out, we believe he was referring to the fact that the suspect was a juvenile. He said even if police were to gather enough evidence to make an arrest, they would be stopped by the statute of limitations.
Oh,
While there was no statute of limitations on the adult crime of murder, according to Sergeant Mercier, there was a statute of limitations on the juvenile crime of murder, which
Oh,
I do
wow.
not understand.
I don't
Murder
either.
is murder.
Yes.
I
And
mean,
if they start doing that at such a young age, we really need to be
they
in
need to
fear
be
for
off
them
the
as an
streets.
adult.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow.
The Connecticut Post ran the question by the chief criminal court judge in the state of Connecticut, John Ronan, who said that he disagreed. A juvenile suspect could still be charged with the crime. In June and July of 1999, Monroe PD contacted the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crimes in Quantico, Virginia, an FBI unit dedicated to helping local police investigate unsolved crimes. They hoped that new forensic testing, including DNA, might be of some help in the case. However, little seems to have come of this. On July 6, 2000, Governor John Rowland authorized yet another increase in the reward to find Renee's killer from $20,000 to $50,000.
Wow.
A Facebook page was created in April 2024 titled, Who Killed Renee Freer? The group currently has 900 members and is a space where people share theories. They recently raised enough money to rent a billboard to spread awareness about the case. It has been 48 years since little Renee Freer was murdered. If you have any information on the murder of Renee Freer, please contact the Monroe Police Department Detective Division at 203 452 2831, extension 1332. Again, there is a $50,000 reward for information that leads to a resolution.
Wow.
So it's a heartbreaking case. I feel for her parents, especially if they know that there was a suspect, but oh, he's a juvenile. We can't do anything about it.
And probably won't give them the suspect's name.
No.
But this is the thing. They're putting up billboards now. That's going to haunt this person.
Oh, I hope it
But
does.
how many other people has been in the wake of his crime? You know that's not the only one.
Not if you start that young.
No.
And you just have to wonder, I don't know. You just have to wonder so many things.
Yeah, you do. It's horrible. And you know that the parents are questioning everybody and everything. And
Well, and I think that's why they moved away. Like,
yeah.
how do you live in a place? I think that would be hard to do.
Mhm.
Like you don't want to leave because your daughter, that was the last place you had your
Yes.
daughter. But at the same time, how do you trust your neighbors at this point?
Mm-mm.
And then it's just so sad them moving away and saying, you know what, we just want to get on with our lives
Yes.
at this point.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart.
Well, they have no choice. They have to move on.
Right.
Whatever that means, it's never going to be the same.
Well, but without knowing what happened, that's got to
Yeah.
be even harder.
Yes.
Like I can't do this anymore.
And too many reminders every day
Yeah.
being in the same place. I could
Yeah.
understand that for sure. Yeah. So
yeah.
sad. And she sounded like such a little angel.
I can't imagine what kind of person she would have grown up to be.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful child,
Yeah.
inside and out.
Some dark energies, or most dark energies, cannot handle the beauty and light of their victims.
That's
and
true.
so they destroy it. And it sounds like that's what happened. Her light was so bright that this person had to destroy it. And that's so sad.
It's amazing though, for such little time here, she touched so many people.
Yes.
Really. I mean, even an
beautiful.
elderly couple with strawberry. Oh,
Just so sweet.
so yeah, guys, let us know what you think. Please share the story. There's still a billboard. They're still looking. Check out the Facebook page.
Yeah, if you know anything, please share.
Yeah.
Any tidbit of anything, even if you think it's insignificant. If you've heard someone speaking about something off the wall that just don't sound right, and you think they might be involved or know somebody who was involved, get the police involved. It's so important. So important.
It is. So yeah, guys, until our next episode, please remember to see the good and stay imperfectly perfect. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.